Good evening. Thank you for joining us today in this conversation as we share more information and respond to questions, particularly for parents of students with individual education plans. I'm joined this evening by Assistant Superintendent Dawn Linden and our Assistant Directors for our Student Intervention and Support Services team. Ms. Linden, will you do our introductions?
I would be happy to. It's my pleasure to be here this evening, and I am joined by three wonderful assistant directors who are here to support all the families in the Ann Arbor Public Schools. So I'm going to turn this over to Julianne to introduce herself.
I'm Julianne Muir, one of the assistant directors of Student Intervention Support Services. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Mary Weezy, assistant director for Student Intervention Support Services.
And I'm Eric Thompson, another Assistant Director for Student Intervention and Support Services.
And I'm Andrew Cluley. I'm the Director of Communications, and I'll be asking some questions of this great panel later on in this presentation.
Thank you. Well, we want to share right at the front of this time together this evening that it is our intention and our plan and our work to implement individual education plans fully. If for some reason that were to need some adjustment, our parents will be receiving contact from their teacher, assistant director, from the team, a member of the team, so that we can work through those details. I want to share that we've really raised the level of play and enhanced our experience for our teachers with many additional tools over this summer. So I do want to emphasize that the plan for the fall, our educational experience and our supports will be very, very different. A much enhanced experience for our students from that spring segment, March through June. I also wanted to share that we will be conducting all of our regular meetings, our IEP meetings, and other appropriate interactions virtually. We have a full suite of software applications and the right kinds of tools to use so that we'll be able to be together while we're physically apart during the first part of this fall. And finally, we're just very excited about a number of enhancements that we're already aware of as a result of our virtual tools. So, for example, the new digital library that every student will have loaded in full access to on their technology device. That's millions of titles. And those books have the read aloud function. They have that highlighter and the sticky note functions. Our academic reading materials at the elementary level have that weighted text. Really a lot of built-in tools that will benefit our students who have additional learning challenges and IEPs, but also will be a great benefit for every child in the Ann Arbor Public Schools. Now, I want to thank everyone who's taken time to send us your questions. We have curated those questions and really brought to the front those things that are most commonly asked right now by our parents of students with individual education plans. So we're excited to turn this over to Ms. Linden and to the assistant directors to help us and provide some questions and answers and information to help our parents feel better prepared for this fall 2020. Ms. Linden.
Thank you so much, Dr. Swift. Well, again, it's my pleasure to be here this evening with this esteemed team. And I just want to reiterate what Dr. Swift shared. It is our commitment that while we're in this virtual setting, we will work hard every single day to make sure each and every child and student is supported, that they can access their curriculum, that they receive that curriculum in culturally relevant ways, and that their learning experiences recognize their strengths and their funds of knowledge as we work together in this new environment. And there are 3 important changes that we have put in place this year to help us ensure that every student is engaged in our learning. And these shifts are in place and will begin on September 8th in our classrooms from preschool through grade 12. These shifts are threefold. One is universal design for learning. I think a terminology that most folks who are watching this understand fully. But it is that intentional scaffolded learning model that allows students, no matter their background and instructional ability, to access the learning and to be part of class discussion and class experiences in the general ed setting. It's a really important move in the district to put that in place pre-K through 12 this year. The second we referenced, which is culturally responsive teaching. And this is our practice of honoring and incorporating the experiences and knowledge of every individual in our learning community so that they see themselves in that environment and feel significant and valued in that environment. And the third is the implementation of sheltered instruction protocols, which you may not have heard of. These really are visual representations and intentional moves that teachers will make so that the vocabulary, the terminology, and the interaction is made clear for students, both visually and with clear targets, so that students who may be learning English, students who may have processing challenges can access the learning and do so in a predictable and formatted way. So we look forward to, in the presentation, sharing with you some of what that looks like in the Schoology setting. So today in our presentation and in our descriptions, we plan to talk to you a little more about IEP implementation, about what you can expect for communication with your school teams moving forward, how service provision and delivery will be taking place while we're in the virtual setting, a little bit about online tools and some technology supports for our families, and of course, special education evaluations. So at this time, I'm going to hand this over to Mr. Eric Thompson to talk a little more about IEP implementation.
Thank you, Dawn. We know there are questions around the implementation of IEPs during this time in which we remain virtual. And while there are some limitations in a virtual setting, it is our goal to fully implement the IEPs as designed and written to the greatest extent possible. If there are services and supports in the IEP that cannot be implemented due to the building closures caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, then a robust, good faith effort contingency learning plan, a GFE CLP, will be developed outside of the IEP in collaboration with parents and in accordance with the IEP. That our families will be included in any plans regarding IEP implementation, and we will stay connected as the year unfolds to ensure students are fully supported in reaching their goals. We also understand the importance of communication with our families during this time, and we want to let you know that our dedicated Ann Arbor Public Schools case managers will be reaching out to families the week of September 8th to introduce themselves, and will stay closely connected to ensure students and families are supported. That school teams are working to establish schedules, coordinating with general education staff to ensure the best possible, most supported virtual learning experience. And families can expect more communication the week of September 14th. Ann Arbor Public Schools understands that the partnership between home and school is vital to the success of our students. And we invite our families to reach out at any time to let us know how we can help.
During this remote learning period, we will be providing services and delivering those services synchronously or live in the virtual setting through our safe virtual video conferencing platforms. Service providers and case managers will be reaching out to families to share schedules for services and more information beginning September 14th. As in the face-to-face setting, services will be delivered within the general education online classroom through push-in services or in small group online settings with a service provider or teacher. In addition to the service delivery, We have infused all of our online tools and technology supports into the environment. Schoology, our learning management system, provides a safe platform for instructional delivery, where students have home bases and can access teachers and their service providers there. We've also infused assistive technologies like Snap and Read and Co-Writer, which are made available to all of our students as support tools for their academic growth and learning. There's predictable lesson design with clear learning targets through our curriculum redesign and effective instruction with our teachers. And the week of September 8th is a focused orientation for all students to ensure that students know how to do school and access their classes in Schoology.
Next, I'll talk about special education evaluations. Our team will make every effort possible to conduct virtual special education evaluations necessary for students. Once a family requests an initial evaluation, the school team will conduct a review of existing evaluation data, or a read, within the next 10 school days. During that read meeting, the team will review what current data is available, evaluation data that is needed, and design an evaluation plan, which will include the identification of evaluations which can and cannot be performed virtually. Next, the team will proceed with the evaluation, and the IEP meeting will be convened within the next 30 school days. If the team is unable to complete the necessary evaluations in the virtual setting, families will be asked for an extension to the read to allow for face-to-face evaluations to be conducted when it's possible. At that time, the IEP team will create a good faith effort contingency learning plan, or GFE CLP, based on the student's suspected disability, and will provide special education supports and services to the student until the complete evaluation can be conducted. For the case of reevaluations for students who currently have eligibility for special education, reevaluation evaluations will be completed for students whom there is a question of continued eligibility. When an IEP is due for a 3-year review of eligibility, the IEP team will conduct a read to review the current eligibility and any past evaluations that have been done for the student, as well as available data related to eligibility and performance. If the team has sufficient data to support the student's continued eligibility for special education services, the read will be finalized, indicating that no additional testing is needed to continue with special education services. The IEP meeting will be held. If the team determines that there is a question of continued eligibility for special education services, the team will continue with eligibility until school resumes in person. The team will document in the read and IEP that an evaluation will take place once school resumes to in-person learning.
Thank you so much, Mary. We appreciate that. And I think a big question that many families are concerned about is support during the virtual learning period. And so you've just heard a bit about services and IEPs and evaluations. In addition to that, many families would prefer and need some support in assisting at home during this online learning phase. So we just want to encourage our families to visit a2schools.org. If you click on the continuity of learning plan and go to the bottom, you're going to see a resources page for SISS. This is a screenshot that you see here. And in this area, you'll find additional tools and supports, tips and tricks, things that you might find useful to support your children while learning at home. But that's not all. Your case managers are here to support you. At any time, if you have a question or a need, or if something isn't working well at home, your case managers are there to support. We want you to please reach out just as soon as you anticipate there may be an issue. If you're experiencing any technology issues while you are in the virtual learning environment, the technology helpline is open from 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And that number is 734-997-1222. We've also included an email where you might email questions as well, if that's your preferred method. So in closing, I just want to thank our families for putting your faith in us. It is truly an honor and a gift to be able to teach your children each and every day. And the commitment we shared at the beginning of this presentation is what we want to come back to now. We want you to know that we understand the power of the relationships we have with your students and with you. And we're going to work hard to make sure each and every student feels significant and valued, has access to that learning that's happening every single day, and that we connect and stay connected with our families to make sure what we're doing is working. So thank you so very much for this time. And I believe I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Andrew Cluley.
Thank you, Dawn. I know that this presentation answered a lot of the questions that we've been hearing from families with students that have special needs, additional needs. But we know that there are a couple more questions that we wanted to specifically address. They're some of the most common questions that we've heard. The first one I've heard a lot of is, my child has the support of a paraprofessional. How will paraprofessionals be supporting students while we are virtual?
So our paraprofessionals are going to have a multiplicity of roles supporting students, but most importantly, your case manager in conjunction with your IEP team will take a look at your student's IEP, and based upon the required supports, will then assign paraprofessional support to your student based upon the supports needed and outlined in the IEP. So paraprofessionals may support your student in the virtual classroom with the teacher, or they may operate breakout sessions or provide other supports for your student, like breaks or other opportunities to support their learning.
Thank you, Julianne. Will parents receive any workshops or training to be able to better support their child while they're learning at home?
I can take that one, Andrew. We will be providing Connecting Together parent support sessions, which are run by our school psychologists and school social workers. And there are additional support resources listed on the SISS website. And as needs arise as we begin this school year, we will look to develop more sessions for parents and families.
Excellent, Eric. Another comment we've heard quite a bit is, what if my child is not successful in the virtual learning environment? I know that was pretty common back in the spring. Will there be any opportunities to adjust the plan to get her or him what he or she needs?
Certainly. If you find that your student is having difficulty, please reach out to your student's case manager, and the IEP team can come together to look at what your student's unique needs are and provide a plan for additional supports.
Thanks, Julianne. Now, I know another challenge is, while we're learning remotely, it's kind of you want to catch it right when it's happening. If you're having an issue, is there a support line or a place to go to get help in the moment?
Sure, Andrew. Your child's case manager is always the first contact for you to make. If you have technical assistance needs, then you can always contact the help desk that Ms. Linden mentioned previously. It's open daily from 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. At 734-997-1222. There's also the main special education office phone number, which is 734-994-2318. Our office professionals are always manning that line and can get you in contact with someone when needed.
Mary, thank you for talking about sort of the way to get help in the moment. Another question we've heard a bit is, will materials be provided to my child?
Sure, Andrew. If there are additional materials that are required in order for your child to make progress towards goals or access the curriculum, then again, contact your case manager and we will work with you on ways to get your child those materials.
Thanks, Eric. Another area that's come up a lot in the comments and the questions that we've seen was, will my student be getting speech, OT, and social work live with a therapist, or will they only be able to access these supports during office hours?
I can take that, Andrew. We know that during the spring, a lot of what the services look like were during office hours, but in the fall, our groups are committed to making sure that we're providing direct synchronous instruction for our students per their IEP needs. Our staff has had a lot of practice this summer with our summer academies and ESY. So they're ready to go, and they're ready to help students face-to-face.
Thanks, Mary. Another question, what will happen if my child is unable to participate in their classes for a day?
You should definitely reach out to your child's teacher and your child's case manager to make sure that you share what is happening. So that way your case manager can coordinate with classroom teachers as well as other service providers to get missing assignments, or at least to be a bridge to getting your student back on track with the instruction missed for that day.
Excellent. One final question that I've heard a lot, and it's more of a concern than a question, is the chance for the district to use Good Faith Effort Contingency Learning Plan, or GFE-CLP, just in a blanket way to take out pretty much all the IEPs in the district. Is that the plan while we're learning remotely, or are we really going to try and keep IEPs in place?
Andrew, I'm really glad that you asked that question, and you heard Dr. Swift say it, and you've heard me say it, and you've also heard members of this team say it, and we really want to make this clear to our community. Our goal and intent is to implement our IEPs fully. The only reason that we would need to implement a good faith contingency learning plan would be in extreme situations, a situation where a particular goal cannot be met in a virtual environment. An example of that might be scissoring, helping a student use a pair of scissors. That requires a face-to-face. Those are the kinds of things that we want our community to understand. Our goal is not to limit speech or any of our services. Our goal is to implement those in full. So we will keep communicating with families as we schedule and support in setting those up. And we just invite our families to keep the questions coming. Please do.
Thank you for taking time to join us today for this discussion as to how we will work together to meet the needs of our students, and particularly students with an individual education plan. I want to thank Ms. Linden and our assistant directors who've taken time. I know that they're so busy this week getting ready to welcome our students back next week. I know that this has been a time of challenge since March 13th, when we were forced to close our schools for the COVID pandemic. We understand that this is a time of concern for our parents. And as hard as it is even more challenging, we understand, for parents of students with special needs. I want you to know that we're going to continue to work hard every day to meet the needs of our students. We know that this is an ongoing process, and we'll be engaged in ongoing conversation. So I look forward to more of these kinds of sessions. We appreciate the partnership of APAC and our APAC Exec Board, who've been working together with members of our team over these previous months. We will remain in conversation, and together we will work, and we will see our students continue to learn and grow and thrive throughout this time. We will be connected, even though we're physically apart. So we look forward next Tuesday, September the 8th, to seeing our students together with us. We've missed you every day, and we're so excited to see you all together virtually in our virtual classroom to begin this 2021 school year. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.